ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and 7 o'clock in Lagos. Good evening and welcome to Newslink, coming to you live on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM in Dakar and around the world at wadr.org. First, the top stories. Electoral Commission of Benin publishes final result of January 11 municipal elections. African Union of Broadcasting Science MOU with UN University to advance media knowledge of environmental issues.
We are going to mobilize the resources available to work with the broadcasting unions and other interested parties across the continent and beyond.
Turkish government pledges support to Nigeria in the fight against terrorism.
Under the leadership of Mr. Tinubu, we stand with the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism, in military training and intelligence.
And 16 Gambian farming businesses receive approval for export to Chinese market. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
On the news, this is a more edit.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We'll begin in Benin, where the Independent National Electoral Commission (SENA) has announced the results of the January 11 municipal elections. According to provisional figures, two ruling coalition parties secured all council seats across the country's 77 municipalities. At the national level, voter turnout stood at 36.67%. Christopher Teacher reports.
Saka Lafia, president of Benin's Independent National Electoral Commission (SENA), on Wednesday officially announced the results of the January 2026 municipal elections. Three political parties, namely the Progressive Union for Renewal (UPR), the Republican Bloc (BR), and four scorers for an emerging Benin (FCBE), contested the polls. According to SENA's results, the UPR emerged in first place with 48.92% of the votes, securing 963 municipal council seats. The Republican Bloc finished second with 44.43% of the votes, translating into 852 elected councillors. With 6.65% of valid vote cast, FCBE failed to qualify for seat allocation. Under the new electoral code, only party listed that obtained at least 10% of the national votes are eligible to share the 1,815 seats available.
A report by WDR's Cotonou correspondent Aziz Adam Sulian, voiced by Christopher Tichon. Now, the African Union of Broadcasting AUB and the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health have signed a memorandum of understanding. The MOU signed at the AUB headquarters in Dakar aims to strengthen cooperation between African media organizations and the United Nations system. To effectively implement this cooperation, a Global Media Academy of the UN University has been established within the AUB. Sankli Janko was at the ceremony and filed this report.
The initiative seeks to strengthen the capacity of African media professionals to report more effectively on water, environmental sustainability, climate change, and development issues in line with continental and global priorities. Speaking at the ceremony, AUB Chief Executive Officer Gregoire Njaka described the partnership as a shared vision, saying it will play a key role in improving access to water across Africa. He explained that through education and training, journalists will receive fact-based knowledge from the university on water and health issues, enabling more accurate, informed public reporting.
Because water is life in Africa, I think we want to train as much as possible. We will look for people who can train us, who knows, and people who can train us, because myself, as a journalist, I need to be trained on that.
Director of the UN Institute for Water, Professor Kava Madani, also underscored the importance of the collaboration, highlighting the university's role in providing journalists with reliable, science-based information. He noted that well-informed journalists are better equipped to report on real water and health challenges facing communities.
We at the United Nations University have the mandate and the task of bringing science into the policy rooms, make sure that where decision making is happening, people are aware of the best available science and evidence. That's why we are going to work with AUB to mobilize the resources available, to work closely with the broadcasting unions and other interested parties across the continent and beyond.
Both institutions express confidence that the partnership will enhance the capacity of African broadcasters by improving access to credible research and data while supporting quality media coverage of critical water, environmental and health issues across the continent.
Sankole Janko filed that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Self-care is gaining recognition as a key component of Nigeria's healthcare system, particularly for people with limited access to hospitals and clinics. At a stakeholders meeting in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, health advocates and government officials discuss how self-care can empower Nigerians to manage their health while remaining linked to the formal health system. In simple terms, self-care enables individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, and manage illness with or without direct support from a healthcare provider. WDL's Abuja correspondent Diachinu Sasicho reports.
For many Nigerians, self-care is already part of daily life, from managing blood pressure at home to using family planning methods or seeking health information online. But health experts say the goal is to make self-care safer, better regulated, and properly linked to the health system. That was the focus of the National Self-Care Advocacy Network Stakeholders Meeting, organized by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare through its Health Promotion Division with support from White Ribbon Alliance Nigeria. Joy Angwa from the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare says National Self-Care Initiative is designed to expand access to quality health services, especially for people who face barriers such as distance, cost, and stigma.
Self-care is not a new concept or term, but rapid advancement in medical and digital technologies is accelerating, and the range of interventions that were previously delivered by clinical providers can now be acquired and managed more directly by individuals.
Advocates say self-care is particularly important for women, young people, and vulnerable populations. Executive Director, White Ribbon Alliance, Tonte Ibrahim, says self-care is a way to unburden the system.
We're here to ensure that self-care is prioritized at all levels in order to unburden our healthcare system. And not just that, but give women and girls and communities the power to take charge of their health.
But stakeholders were quick to caution that self-care does not mean abandoning the health system or shifting responsibility entirely to individuals. Jennifer Adebambo from Society for Family Health says self-care should be seen as a bridge and not a replacement for healthcare services.
The role we each of us have to play, like partners who are working in the field, the federal government cannot do it themselves. Partners have different mandates at the state level. That's why the Federal Ministry of Health provide guidelines.
The three core pillars of self-care are self-awareness, self-testing, and self-management. For WADR, Diachinu Sasicho in Abuja.
Meanwhile, Nigeria and Turkey have signed several cooperation agreements in various seats, including security, trade, and energy. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, who is expected to conclude a 2-day diplomatic visit to Ankara, has since met with his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan. While their discussion resulted in multiple agreements in critical sectors, Ankara expressed its readiness to support Nigeria in its fight against terrorism. Augustin Koli completes the story.
After his meeting with President Bola Tinubu in Ankara on Tuesday, the Turkish president indicated his country's readiness to support Nigeria in its fight against terrorism. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said Turkey has examined options for closer cooperation in military training and intelligence. These topics were extensively discussed between the presidents of the two countries during their meeting in the Turkish capital. During a press conference, President Erdogan stated he also discussed trade, energy, investment and education, among other issues, with his counterpart Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Under the leadership of Mr. Tinubu, we stand with the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism. Indeed, today we evaluated opportunities for closer cooperation in military training and intelligence and stated our readiness to share our country's significant experience in combating terrorism.
Through these sectors, Abuja and Ankara aim to reach a bilateral trade volume estimated at $5 billion or over 2 trillion CFA francs. Meanwhile, Daniel Boila, Special Advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Policy Communication, says the Nigerian leader's visit to Turkey is part of a strategic approach reflecting the federal government's desire to strengthen its partnerships with foreign powers towards making the country a gateway from Africa to global markets.
They are good in the area of security. They also have the capacity to produce weapons that are key and critical to what we need. We also have areas where we've been of help to them. If you look at Turkey-Nigeria relationship over the years, you will see investment by the Turkish government in Nigeria. And so this is a shared meeting for shared interests.
Turkey and Nigeria have been collaborating since 1962. Bilateral relations between the two countries have strengthened since 2010 with results in the areas of health, education, industrialization, agriculture, defense and trade. The volume of trade currently exceeds $1 billion per year.
Augustine Coley filed that report. Elsewhere, the Gambia's agricultural sector has received a major boost for local farming businesses. This follows approval by Chinese authorities for 16 Gambian companies to export peanuts to China. The approval, granted by the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China, is expected to open new market opportunities for one of the country's key export crops. WDL Sangdon Amendi has the rest of this story.
The Gambia Food Safety and Quality Authority, FSQA, said 16 local companies have been approved to export peanuts to China. In a statement by the Food Authority on Wednesday, the clearance was granted by China's General Administration of Customs after the companies meet required food safety and quality standards. FSQA has urged the approved farms to immediately begin export processing to allow for inspection, certification, and smooth customs clearance. The authority also called on farmers, processors, and exporters to strictly adhere to good agricultural and good manufacturing practices, noting that compliance with food safety regulations is essential to maintain access to the Chinese market and other international destinations. The Gambia Food Authority reaffirmed its commitment to supporting the agriculture sector through regulation, capacity building, and partnerships with international stakeholders to improve the safety, quality, and competitiveness of local agricultural products. Peanuts remain one of the Gambia's key export crops, and authorities say the development will significantly boost foreign exchange earnings. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
Meanwhile, the governments of Ghana and Jamaica have signed a new labor exchange agreement that will enable Ghanaian teachers and nurses to work in the Caribbean nation. This initiative is expected to create new job opportunities for local professionals while strengthening diplomatic, economic, and security relationships between the two countries. The agreement comes days after Ghana began sending health workers to Antigua and Barbuda under a similar overseas placement initiative. WDL's Accra correspondent Nadi Detete reports.
The development was announced by the Minister for Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa following talks with Jamaica's Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Michael Holness during an official visit by a Ghanaian delegation. In a Facebook post on Tuesday, January 27, 2026, Mr. Ablakwa said the discussions focused on a special labor exchange program expected to begin later this year. However, he did not disclose how many professionals would be involved or the specific terms of the arrangement. Minister Ablakwa also disclosed Dr. Holness's gratitude to President John Dramani Mahama and the people of Ghana for their support after the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa, describing the gesture as one Jamaica would long remember. Beyond labor cooperation, the two countries are exploring broader partnerships. Talks included plans for a Ghana-Jamaica Defense Cooperation Agreement, which signals expanding collaboration beyond diplomacy and cultural relations. The Foreign Affairs Minister added that discussions also examined business opportunities for Ghanaian firms as Jamaica prepares a major infrastructure renewal drive under what Prime Minister Holness termed a Build Back Better agenda. At the international level, Dr. Holness pledged support for President Mahama's proposed United Nations resolution seeking recognition of the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity and renewed calls for reparations. The Foreign Affairs Minister said Ghana is looking forward to hosting the Jamaican leader who has expressed interest in visiting the country in the near future. For WADR, Nadi Tete, Accra.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of the top stories. Electoral Commission of Benin publishes final result of January 11 municipal elections. African Union of Broadcasting signs MOU with UN University to advance media knowledge of environmental issues. Turkish government pledges support to Nigeria and the fight against terrorism. And 16 Gambian farming businesses receive approval for export to Chinese market. And still ahead in the news, FAO says 52.8 million people in West and Central Africa risk acute hunger in 2026. We do have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, we're also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. In Guinea, authorities are continuing a large-scale operation to clear the main streets in Conakry. This initiative, launched a few days ago, aims to remove vendors who have set up along the sidewalks of the roads in the Guinean capital. However, the measure has sparked frustration and protest by street sellers in some areas of the city. Francis Boniface completes the story.
The operation is being carried out jointly by the National Police and the Military Engineering Corps. Shops, stores, and sheds built along major roads have been demolished, including along the Fidel Castro Highway, Prince Road, Kubaya, Symphonia, among others. However, occupants denounce what they call an injustice and are calling on the Guinean authorities to take action.
They just came and vandalized our containers without even informing us. We lost out because some of those containers are worth millions. We got this place where we are trying to make ends meet. Now the government has come by force to evict us.
It is unacceptable. They should have given us a place where we are supposed to stay. We are in the markets. We are looking for anything. What are we going to do?
Instead of giving us some time to remove them, they are wrecking our containers and saying nothing to us. A container that costs 5 to 6 million. We couldn't even pay the money in the first place. They've evicted us again.
The authorities justify the operation by the need to prevent traffic accidents in these areas of high commercial activity. They also state the desire to improve the image and urban planning of the capital, Conakry. Amadou Kuruma is the National Director of Land Use Planning.
We launched an eviction operation, a real clearing of the encroachments, and this occupation that the woman had established along the cross section was an illegal occupation. Not only were they in danger.
Following this operation, the government announced that it had identified suitable sites currently being developed for the resettlement of displaced persons.
A report from our Conakry correspondent, Cheno Afa Ibrahim Abadin, voiced by Francis Boniface. Now, the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO estimates that nearly 52 million people in West Africa and the Sahel could face acute food insecurity during the 2026 lean season. According to FAO's latest Chez Harmonized 2025 analysis, 41.8 million people are currently facing acute food insecurity. The food and nutrition crisis in West Africa and the Sahel continues to deteriorate, affecting millions of households. FAO calls for urgent collective action to strengthen the humanitarian response and implement sustainable solutions amid declining funding. Abdullah Hassan reports.
In its latest press release, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, announced that the Chez Harmonized 2025 analysis was conducted across 15 countries in the region, including Cameroon. The findings indicate that conflict, climate shocks, rising food prices, and cuts in humanitarian funding are severely undermining the livelihoods of the most vulnerable populations. Kofi Dominic Kwaku, head of FAO's Sub-Regional Resilience Team for West Africa, said the food crisis is driven by a combination of interconnected factors. He emphasized that persistent insecurity, particularly in the Lake Chad Basin, Liptako-Goma, the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, and parts of northwest and central Nigeria, restrict access to farmland and markets. Between October and December 2025, nearly 41.8 million people were classified as being in worse crisis conditions according to the Chez Harmonized scale. Among them, more than 1.4 million individuals faced emergencies in Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Niger, Senegal, and other countries. FAO warns that if additional actions are not taken, up to 52.8 million people could experience acute food insecurity during the upcoming lean season from June to August 2026. The UN Humanitarian Organization is urging governments and partners to immediately enhance response efforts to support food production, protect livelihoods, and increase investments in community resilience.
Abdullah Hassan reporting there.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest is Dr. Olumayowa Joseph Olani, a Nigerian security expert. Olani joins us for a better understanding of why Nigerian security agencies have lately been caught in a web of denying reports of security breaches, only to confirm the information days later. The two recent incidents are the Defense Headquarters' confirmation of a report of a failed coup plot in October last year, and the Nigerian police also acknowledging a mass abduction on January 19 in Kaduna State Northwest. In both instances, the security and intelligence units of the Nigerian government justified their actions. Olani cautions that while such tactics can be effective, their repeated use carries both advantages and risks.
I think the first thing that we need to look at is to look at the operational security of some of these issues too. Sometimes early disclosure could jeopardize some of their ongoing efforts. For instance, it could compromise arrests and it can also compromise surveillance. And in fact, it can also compromise ongoing investigations. So sometimes they look at it from the angle that not all the information needs to be released to the public, especially when they do not have concrete evidence or they do not have things under control. If you are looking at it from the perspective of the coup d'etat, I think sometimes they look at it from the perspective that they do not have all of those things in control. So it's better that they hold on to some things before releasing it to the public. In fact, on this particular case, I think they started before the media report by Sarah reporters. I think the military had actually started their arrest before then. Conversations with some people working in the intelligence community showed that they actually started arrest before then, before it was made public by Sarah reporters. Another thing, again, that we need to also consider is that information within regimented organizations like the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Police, they are asymmetric in nature. It simply means that information has to run through the command chain to the very top before an official position is presented.
Well, Dr. Olani, regarding the earlier denial by the Nigerian armed forces of the alleged coup plot against President Tinubu, do you think it has a level of sensitivity, seeing that Nigeria is considered the powerhouse of ECOWAS?
I think another thing that we need to look at is the political sensitivity that comes with a news as such as coup. And this is coming from a background of the fact that Nigeria, being a member state of the ECOWAS, being in fact a very strong arm of the ECOWAS, would almost throw every other part into complete chaos or confusion. If there's an announcement, not just an announcement, if there is a confirmation from the military that there's a coup ongoing, in the country, it will send a lot of signal, very wrong negative signals, not just within the Nigerian space, not just within Nigeria, but also to other West African member states, ECOWAS member states. So again, the way they want to manage such information becomes what they think about, the political sensitivity, the political nature of the country. The polity also influences the way they also present some of this information to the public. So sometimes, or should I say oftentimes, when they have such issues come up, what they will rather want to do is to hold on before they go to the public to make statements.
To what extent will this be damaging if it becomes a pattern that security agencies in Nigeria will first deny reports only to later confirm these reports?
Public trust is shattered, completely shattered, if it becomes continuous, repeated, for security agencies to deny incidents when actually victims of these incidents are also available in the public space, where they also have access to internet, where they have access to speak their mind. The security agencies will be saying one thing and the victims will be saying another thing, completely different from the position of the security agencies. It shatters people's trust. It shows a lot of gap. And again, it shows why, as a country, we have continued in this circle of insecurity that we've had for some long years now, maybe whether it's terrorism from the Northeast or banditry or any of them. Trust is a very huge component in helping us as a people, as a country, to solve most insecurity challenges that we have. So it becomes imperative for security agencies to find every means available to build public trust.
Dr. Lumayowa Joseph Olani is a security expert. In sport news, the 2030 Men's World Cup final will be held in Spain. The president of the country's football federation has said Spain, Portugal and Morocco are co-hosting the tournament, while the opening 3 matches will be played in Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay to mark the competition's 100th anniversary. Morocco has expressed interest in staging the final, but Spanish Football Federation chief Rafael Luzan said Spain has proven its organizational capacity over many years. Morocco wants to stage the final in Casablanca at the Grand Stade Hassan II, which is due to be completed in 2028 and expected to hold 115,000 people. Last year, Morocco's Royal Football Federation President Fawzi Lekja expressed his wish to see the stadium stage a final against Spain. And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at WDR English. Coming up is a repeat broadcast of our agenda program 50/50 with Nadine Tete. I am Imo Edit. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Baga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.